Welcome to another exciting episode of the Epic Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Brad Sugars, the Chairman and CEO of ActionCOACH, and today we're diving into the minds of some incredible business leaders, uncovering their real stories, strategies, and the secrets behind their victories. It's not just about success, it's about the journey, the hurdles, and turning challenges into opportunities. So let's jump right into it.
Welcome to the Epic Entrepreneur Podcast, the go-to spot for insights from the successful players in the business world. Today, I am thrilled to welcome Candice Mason, the Managing Director of Mother Cuppa and Mason Coaches in London, UK. Candice, it's great to have you with us. Let's dive into the top 3 things you did that made you successful in business and how others can follow in your footsteps.
Hi, Simac. Thanks for having me on the show. So the top 3 things that I have done, the first thing was definitely working with a business coach, which really helped me to highlight the challenges that I was facing and question why I was doing certain things. The second thing is that I have been able to completely systemize my business so that I'm no longer needed in it doing the hands-on role day to day. And the third thing is that I have been able to do that and free myself up to start a third business.
A third business? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So let's go to the top of the first one. You said getting a business coach. Talk to me about that. I mean, how did you decide to go in for one? And talk to me about the journey so far.
It sort of stumbled upon me. It happened in lockdown. I met our local business coach. Our business was having a really difficult time, as many were, trying to come out of that. And he said, let me see if I can support you. I first had to convince my husband. I worked with my husband and he wasn't sure that that was the right way for him or for us. But I said, we're quiet. We've got nothing to lose. We might as well try it. And I don't think we've ever looked back on that decision, really. That was the best decision that we've personally have made. That business, I mean, we were in it, the thick of it, answering the phones, answering the email, doing the job, trying to grow the business.
Right.
We'd taken that business from, it's a bus and coach business, so we'd taken it from sort of 6 vehicles up to 20 vehicles, and we had just done all of the growth ourselves, and we'd never really stopped and thought about where were we going in the future, how are we managing our team to help with growth. So working with our business coach really made us stop and think about those things and realise that we needed to take a bit of a step back in order to get some clarity on the business. And also the fact that we hadn't had a holiday without a phone or a laptop for 10 years. So it was very important to us.
Interesting point. So how many hours were you working in your business prior to getting your...
Well, that is a business that operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 364 days a year. So there wasn't really a day that we didn't touch it in one way or another. That isn't the case anymore. We have holidays without being contacted, which is unbelievable. And I know that I've spoken to other business owners who are in that position where they're desperate to just get some breathing space. It really gave some clarity on what we needed to do in terms of next steps. And in some ways, I think when I look back now, we were just existing on autopilot and weren't really thinking about the future, and we were just doing the daily grind. It wasn't particularly great for health, for well-being, for a couple that are married trying to run a business. So yeah, we needed to make some big changes to that.
Yeah. And so give me a sense of clarity. What has your business coach actually helped you do? Because how has he or she moved on from you working nonstop 24/7 in your business to now going for holidays? Obviously, I want to hear what's the most exotic holiday you'll have gone. Also, there's a complication also, right? Because when you have a husband and wife team, they're not only seeing themselves in the office, but also at home, and balancing that and the dynamics of a marriage and a business is really, really challenging. So tell me more.
Well, we have a lot of fun and games, I can tell you. Look, the first thing is we looked at every sort of touch point within the business. What was I doing? What was my husband doing? What were the staff that we already had doing? What were all the tasks that were sort of really important that needed to be done and couldn't be done couldn't be left. And I remember I had bits of coloured paper on the wall behind me, and every time I thought, oh gosh, yes, that job needs to be done, it would go up on the board. And we really looked at that and analysed, were we the right people to be doing that thing? Did we have members of our team? Was there a role that we needed to create that would free some of that up? It also allowed me to really look at how often were we touching one piece of work ultimately, or one task. And our business coach suggested that looking at the systems that we were using, were we fully utilising them? Were there other systems or upgrades that would potentially release a staff member? I mean, we changed one area of a booking system that was manually done. I just don't know why we were doing it like that. We paid a little bit of money for a bit of software, and that completely cut a full-time job down to 1 day a week.
Wow.
So
okay.
There were cost savings in that initial investment. There were cost savings in the long run, whereas I'd never really thought about things like that. We were always a bit more of a reactive business rather than proactive. We were always thinking, oh gosh, we need to think about that. And it was after the event. We were always putting sticking plasters or just employing someone who could fill a gap to try and help. And working with a business coach completely changed our mindset on that. I was doing all of the accounts at one point, and I have dyscalculia, so I did a very good job, but I wasn't the right person to do that.
Sure.
And it would make me quite stressed, and I would have to be in a real zone to be able to do it properly and not be able to be distracted. So actually taking me out of that, where I'm better with sort of sales and marketing, and putting all of my energy into that, and hiring somebody who could implement and put bookkeeping and accounting systems in place for us, made total sense. I was grateful for that.
Well, let's move on to the second point you mentioned, systematizing your business.
Yeah.
Tell me more. What did you all do, and how did it help you?
Yeah, so we have a piece of software that is unique to our industry within the bus and coach, and it had some add-ons, and we'd always been, we don't want to spend the money on upgrading because, is it worth the money? But actually, in the long run, that's made a huge difference. So it allowed us to turn one of a booking, so we do day trips and holidays,
Sure.
and it allowed us to move that completely online, reduce the number of phone calls that were coming into the office, to really encourage customers to book online. And then where customers wanted to privately book a vehicle, it was about the responsiveness time. How can we quickly get a quote out to them to be the first in there? How can we sort of sell ourselves to them as being the person to book with? And again, all of that was done by upgrading some of the computer systems and fully training ourselves and making sure we were using every capability within it. The other piece of work that we did was to produce manuals for different areas of the business, so that when you're employing somebody new, the training of that is much more coercive. And when something goes wrong, or if we come across something we haven't, is not infrequent, that we've got a policy and a procedure that's in place for that. And everybody is all now on one central, we've got a staff website, so it's all there for them to find. So that stopped a lot of the, could you just, do you know what to do if? It stopped a lot of the questions coming straight to me and my husband. And there was a point of call. So it took a little bit of training in terms of the staff that you already had to getting kind of used to that. And the way we did that was we explained to them, we need to make some changes. We've grown so much. We don't, James and I don't have a break ever. And we need you on board to be able to make some changes. And that seemed to be, they seem to kind of understand that and be on board with that. So, yeah.
Well, that's a very important point, right? The first 2 points that you mentioned clearly, especially for businesses and small businesses, getting tech in to systematize a business, giving yourself the freedom to actually move out and work on the business. That's very key. And what's the third point you mentioned?
Oh, gosh, what did I mention? Now I'm going to forget that. I mean, one of the things I would say is that experience of going through that and setting a business in that way was so beneficial to me launching my new business, because I went into it with a completely different mindset. I had a much stronger plan of what the next sort of 3 to 5 years was going to be. I sort of included the systems and investment in the beginning of my business plan before I even launched, knowing full well that I didn't want to go back to where I was. I needed to kind of start as I meant to go on. So yeah, that's been a great learning curve for me.
Yeah. You know what? I'm curious about your third business. Tell me more. I was only aware of two. Tell me the third one, if you can share.
I run a company called Mother Cuppa, which is a range of herbal teas to support women's health and hormones. So very different to running a bus and coach company.
Do you serve them on the bus too?
I should do. Look, I entered into a business with my husband, and this is not uncommon. I've heard this many times. It's my husband's family business, and I went in to support him. And that wasn't my long-term goal to stay and do that. And I felt that I needed something that was intrinsically in my values. But equally, I have loved running a business. I mean, I actually think I'm completely unemployable now. I could never be employed by somebody. And through working with a business coach, I'd really understood that service level based business, that customer experience, that delivery model, timely fashion, and how to give that great customer package. But I knew nothing, and it is a little bit of a dated industry, and so I knew nothing about product-based businesses. I knew nothing really about that kind of digital, modern e-commerce marketing side of the business, and so I feel like this is a great next step for me because it's another really great challenge to get my teeth around, and a lot of the skills have been transferable. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that new challenge.
Brilliant. And do you have a coach for this one too, or your business coach is only for the
my business coach has supported me with both of them, so that's been really great. And we tend to mix up each week. We focus on one business or the other, and then if it all goes horribly wrong and I need some guidance on something, then I'll get in touch with him. I mean, honestly, I'd been approached by a business coach pre-pandemic, and it just felt not right for me and my business. But I cannot rate it enough. And I think it's really important to interview different business coaches and find the one that works for you. So many people have a PT for the gym to help them fix their bodies, a mechanic for their car to fix their cars. Why wouldn't you have somebody who's on the outskirts that can ask the objective questions? And you can choose to listen to that or not, but that is pushing you forward and in a different direction. And for me, I think without working with the coach, I think James and I would have been 80 and being buried in our businesses somehow.
Yeah. So do you look at it as an investment or a cost to the company? Which one is it?
No, an investment, definitely, without a doubt. And I'm as an individual person, I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago. I wasn't hugely confident. I didn't have a lot of great self-belief. I knew what I was doing and I just did it really well. But I never felt I was capable of doing any more or going any further. And I've worked on that. I don't say that's all gone completely, but I think just that has really helped. That you leave school and you stop learning, and you stop then developing and growing. And I think that was something that I definitely had fallen into the trap of.
And what are some of the challenges you've been facing right now?
Well, I have a business that is post-pandemic that is in a recovery period.
That's a coaching business. That's coaching, right?
Yeah, that's business the bus and coach business. And of course, I have a startup business. So that is within its own challenges. I think the biggest challenge for us over the last few years has been staffing the company. It's an industry with a national shortage. We're based in the UK, and I don't know what it's like worldwide, but I know lots of other businesses are struggling with staff. We've attacked that by trying to grow our own staff and investing in training, which isn't without its challenges, but we've improved some of those systems and how we recruit and how we decide who the right person is to go through for training, and that certainly has helped, and it's definitely a future growth strategy in order to be able to continue to grow the company. But there was definitely a little hiccup back there that
I'm sure there
we
is.
had to overcome.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And Candice, talk to me. How did you personally have to grow, and what did you most have to learn, to create your success?
Oh gosh, I have incredible imposter syndrome.
Oh wow!
So
You're not the first one. So there you go.
Okay, yeah, I think it's not uncommon, and I don't have a good self-belief about myself. So when my business coach was sort of saying, "Oh, you need to do this, that, and the other," or "Have you thought about doing this, that, and the other?" should say, I would think, "Oh, I can't really do that." That's I don't know. But my mindset on that was, I'm paying a lot of money, so I'm going to have to try it at least. And I think my mindset is, well, if I don't, I'd rather try it and fail and not have tried it at all. So I'm going to think of a really good example here. So when I launched my new business, I had marketing experience in terms of email and Facebook, basically, and that's it. But my new business required a different set of marketing skills, and I had to get myself on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and all these other places. And I was not comfortable with that at all. I didn't want my face on the camera. And I really have been on an incredible journey to try and overcome that. I can't say it's not that I'm past caring now, but I've just gotten over that initial. But it's taken a little bit of time, and it really made me reflect on myself as a person and what I valued in life, and did I really care what people thought of me? And I guess the main aim was I had to make that business a success. And so, yeah, I've just got to put myself out there sometimes, even when I don't really want to.
That's interesting. And talk to me, what's one lesson your business has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
Oh, do you know what? I think the main thing is, I wish someone had pulled me aside at school and said, Candice, you were made for running a business. That just wasn't an option.
Right.
And I never found my vocation in life. I never felt, until I started running Masons and running the bus and coach business. And I just slotted straight into it. So I feel like that's something I've always wanted to share, is to, as a business owner, I feel in a really privileged position to share with other young people or anybody else who's got an inkling of starting their own business. I'm just like, yeah, go for it, because it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of high, but it's a lot of fun at the same time. And oh gosh, yes, that's the only thing I can think of now.
well, talk to me about some of the mistakes you've made. The top 3 mistakes you've made, which kind of...
Oh my goodness, it's definitely more than 3.
Let's go for the first 3 then.
They're getting married. No, I'm joking.
Well, I hope he's not. He's going to listen into this. So there you go.
He sure is. Yeah, he sure is. 3 mistakes I made: hiring the wrong person in the beginning. I literally just hired someone to help me answer the phone. They could only work around their school kids, and that was fine. Wasn't a problem at the time. But when I look back on it, I think if I'd have made that first recruitment with insight of what a clear definition of what their job role was going to be, I think it would have made a really big difference from the get-go. We once bought 2 vehicles that, on reflection, I think is our biggest mistake.
Right.
So definitely learn an incredibly expensively valuable lesson about future forecasting on a business. And just not believing in myself, I think, is probably the biggest mistake, really. That's,
Interesting. Okay. So obviously, hire slow, fire fast would be the first one that you were hinting at when you had the wrong employee.
Yeah.
And talk to me about your self-beliefs and when did you realize that that you should believe in yourself?
Well, that's really interesting. I don't really know. Maybe I've known that all my life, but until I started working with the business coach, it sort of made me question where I wanted to be and what I thought I was capable of. I think my business coach saw more in me and more in my capabilities than I saw in myself. So I think that's where the lesson has been. How do you work on that? A lot of journaling, I'd say, a lot of listening to podcasts and gleaning bits and pieces from others. I do also think as you get older, you have the benefit, don't you, of losing some of that, sort of hanging on. So yeah, I think it's the one thing that has the potential to hold me back from being successful is actually myself. And so I'm much more aware of that now. And I'm much more, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this. I just think, oh, fuck it, just do it. And that's where my head's got to.
Right.
Whereas before I wouldn't have felt like that. I probably would have hidden in the shadow. I would have maybe not done that so much. But yeah, now I'm just like, well, if I want to have the life I want to have and move forward, then I've got to just do whatever is making me uncomfortable and get on with it.
And talk to me about, let's talk about the coaching business, right? The coach business. What are some of the common myths that people have about this particular business?
Oh, that's a really great question. That it's only for retired people.
Really?
Travel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really common misconception within that side of the business. So we do take a lot of retired people out on coach day trips and holidays, but we also have a very eclectic brochure that would meet all different interests. Right. Coach travel is the greenest form of transport next to walking and cycling. So if you're in any way conscious about the environment, it's a really great way to see parts of the UK that you might not be able to access otherwise. Right. There are definitely not enough women in that industry, and I don't think that's a myth. I think that's just a fact. We make up less than 10% of the industry. So that's something I'd really like to work on kind of changing into the future.
How do you plan to do that?
So I've recently been made a founding director on the board of Women in Bus and Coach. So it's a brand new initiative where a group of female in leadership roles. I'm only on that board because I've worked really hard over the last few years on my business and its reputation and my reputation as a result of that work. So that's put me in a really good position to be able to support something that really means a lot to me. So yes, I'm very excited about that. It's all very new, so we shall watch this space on that one.
Okay, good. And Candice, if you could start a business tomorrow, what would that be?
Oh, gosh, I've started Mother Cuppa. So that is, and what would I like to do? I think what I'd really like to do I want to get that e-commerce business to a certain stage. I'm hoping that's going to be my little retirement nest egg. I would like to, in the future, maybe in my retirement, maybe in a voluntary capacity, but I would really like to work with young people who want to start a business. I feel really that if I'd have had some different advice at that age, my journey might have been quite different. And I really feel like I want to empower young people, and particularly women, to think that they can do things that I didn't think I could do myself. So I would love to do something like that in the future, but that's a little pipe dream, that one.
Well, we'll watch the space for it. And lastly, what's your favorite productivity hack for entrepreneurs who are listening onto this show?
What's my favorite hack?
Yeah, productivity hack.
Oh, productivity hack. I plan everything almost to within an inch of its life. I know that sounds really rigid, and I do have some flexibility in my world and at different times of the year. But yeah, I have a really clear plan of what my week looks like, what my next quarter looks like, my month looks like. I actually use, it's Trello, but I think Asana, the same sort of thing. So my boards are annual business plan on there, quarterly business plan, monthly business plan, a weekly business plan. I also have tabs in there for my family, but we don't need to talk about my meal planning and when I'm going to the gym. And
no, that's brilliant. Yes, planning is such an important part, right? And if you don't have a plan, guess what? You're never going to succeed.
You just exactly. Yeah, and that's been something that's been a real takeaway. And I think find your way of planning. It doesn't have to be as rigid as mine. Find your way, but really stick to it and focus on those jobs that are so important. It will help move your business forward rather than the bit that just distracts you and keeps you busy, I guess.
I mean, it's commendable. You have two businesses. So for people listening in, how many hours in a week do you actually, put on for planning? Or, just average.
How many hours
in a month?
a week? Well, I probably sit down on a Friday and maybe spend an hour planning the next week and month, and I'll review the quarter and annual. Probably I don't review the annual all of the time, maybe once every quarter. And then within that will be different plans. So, for example, my marketing plan will come into that. And what I would probably do is spend one day a month on that for the next month. So I'm always kind of a month ahead of myself. And obviously, if something crops up and you need to add something, take something away, then I will do. But yeah, I tend to be a little bit more advanced, in advance than that. But if I was to hazard a guess, it's probably no more than 3 hours a month.
3 hours a month, and you have grown 2 businesses now, so that's commendable. Candice,
yeah,
that's fantastic, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's lovely to talk to you.
You too.
And that's a wrap for today's epic conversation here on Epic Entrepreneurs. Huge thanks to our amazing guest for their pouring their heart into sharing their journey. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, share it, or hit that bell. But until next time, let's make sure you keep dreaming, take massive action, and stay epic.